Assault on overtime. Welcome to a perspective on success to the successful. One more time. Um, for those who are a member of the American middle class, probably feeling like they're struggling harder, working longer hours, and falling further and further behind. There's some reasons for that. And that employee spending promotes demand, which adds to the workload, and at times actually requires working more than 40 hours. And if the people working more than 40 hours make less than the annual income threshold, they end up being paid overtime, which adds to their income, which adds to their spending, which adds to demand. And you have a reinforcing structure where demand is responsible for more demand. Though what's also happening at the same time is that executive compensation is based on stock. And because of what the executives understand, it motivates them to employ corporate profits to buy back stock. And buying back stock increases the stock price, which increases the corporate value, which increases the stock-based compensation and results in more money in the pocket of the executive. So from the executive perspective, this is a very virtuous reinforcing cycle where the more corporate profits they make, the more stock they buy back and the more money they make. While this is happening, though, is that the executives understand one way to increase corporate profits is to employ lobbying to actually reduce the annual income threshold, meaning that people are only available to get paid overtime if they make less than a lower and lower amount. So that reduces the overtime pay, which increases the corporate profits, which allows them to buy back more stock, increasing the stock price and therefore their compensation. So it's an employee corporate value shift. It's a very virtuous reinforcing cycle from the executive's perspective, but it's very vicious from the employee perspective, so that the funds are being shifted from the employee, who's working more and more hours for less and less money, to corporate profits so that the executive can put more money in their pocket. And the offside of this is that sooner or later, that lack of overtime pay, reduction in income, employee spending, reduction in demand results in a reduction of orders, which reduces corporate profit, which means they can't do as much stock buyback, and you end up with a self-limiting development balancing structure where sooner or later the action of the executives are in fact actually shooting themselves in the foot, but it's the longer term shooting themselves in the foot, so that the short-term actions look like they're doing the right thing. It gives them the sense of that they should continue doing what they're doing because it's putting more money in their pocket, though in the longer term they will in fact short circuit the system and actually impact corporate profits. So you end up with a set of relationships whereby the value is being shifted from the employee to the corporation, and though in time that will in fact have a limiting effect on corporate profits. There's a story going around about a discussion between Walter Reuther, the head of the Auto Workers Union, and Henry Ford too, about Henry Ford, them walking through one of Henry Ford's newly automated plants, and Henry saying to Walter, "How will you get robots to pay union dues?" And Walter's response was, "How will you get robots to buy your cars?" So I mean, doing what appears to be the right thing in one dimension often has consequences in another dimension that's going to come around to bite you in the butt later. So hope you found this of interest. I look forward to your comments. Note that this perspective was adopted from an article, What Happened to Overtime by Nick Hanauer. And if you access the perspective directly, there are comments on all of the loop labels and anything else that has a shadow on it. So See you in another perspective soon. Bye.